let's go ahead and jump into our first movie review here. We're going to talk about The Last Night in Soho. For this review, we are going to start off spoiler free, and then we will let you guys know when we are going to jump into spoilers. And then that way you can turn to shut it off or go to the next moment, and we're going to go from there. But a quick summary of The Last Night in Soho: an inspiring fashion designer is mysteriously able to enter the 1960s, where she encounters a dazzling wannabe singer. However, the glamour is not all it appears to be, and the dreams of the past start to crack and splinter into something far, far darker. All right, guys, let's go jump right into this review. I'm gonna go ahead and start because y'all got y'all Star Trek gasms off. I'm gonna go jump into this one. So
you deserve to go first.
Yeah. I love that energy, man. Bring it.
Right. So The Last Night is so much close to being a perfect movie, but the ending is so ho-hum. See what I did there? So ho. I know we're all going to probably review this pretty well because it is Edgar Wright. And Edgar Wright is one of those filmmakers that he just makes good movies. And the things that don't work, you kind of let it slide because he just makes good movies. They look good. They sound good. Like even the dialogue feels good and lived in, etc. So I just go in there with that one. I will say I finally realized it's something that Edgar Wright doesn't do well. And that is complete, straight up horror. Like Shaun of the Dead is horror, but it's comedic horror. Even the World's End, more comedic. This is straight up, no frills, has to like live in this moment kind of thing. And I think either they overthought the ending or they wanted to twist something to make people feel like, oh, this twist was earned. I don't know what it was. I'll be interested to hear interviews further as this movie goes out and spreads more what his thoughts were about the ending. Because I don't think they stuck the landing very well at all. But outside of that, everything works in this movie. When I say everything, I mean everything from the look of it, the feel of it. Even one of the things that it just has a minuscule thing that I think works is the main character, Ellie, her voice, her inflection, how she speaks is very whimsical, very fairy-like, very like it hits on so many things. And this is a thing that we probably never talk about on this show ultimately, but this might be the first movie I've seen in a long time where I think all the casting hit home.
Oh,
like who they picked for each role works and it fit. And the way they acted out, the way they spoke, the way they presented themselves, the way they dressed was all great. Even from the thirsty brother, I was like, damn, this brother like. Because if I'm dealing with some crazy chick like this, I'm out. Like,
nope.
Got me caught up. Like, I'm good.
What are you talking about? Hang out with these other white bitches.
Right. But I'm not a Euro black dude either, so I don't know how they roll. So I'm like, well, maybe this is part of their DNA. Because for me in America, I'm like, oh, she almost got me caught up. I'm surprised the police ain't show up in my house, so I'm gonna let this ride. Like,
yeah.
So, but the things, and again, the only other issues I had too was I think the head, the person who was renting out to Ellie and the old man, I thought they needed a little bit more development, a little bit more to bring that together. So the things that happen in the movie with them, it feels more earned, where it kind of felt very shotgunned in there. And I was like, when the thing happened to the older man, I was like, oh, we must be getting near the end. Like that's the first thing I thought, because like they threw that in there and they flipped it and it was like off to the races, in which the ending was very thrilling until we got to the very last part of it. But like I said, at the end of the day, man, I think everything looked good. It felt good. The way they shot a lot of the scenes, hell, that ending scene on the stairs, oh my God, if that's not movie magic, I do not know what is. It's so perfectly shot. Yeah. Looks so great. It's just everything about this. So again, like I said, I mean, my review is still going to probably be a higher number, but I think it's points left on the table for just little things that I expect out of Edgar Wright that I just didn't get in this moment and in this movie. And that's my only critique, is that Edgar Wright's so great that when he wasn't absolutely almost perfect, it hurt my feelings. That's my critique, basically. Let's go jump on to you, Jaron. What are your thoughts on The Last Night of Soho?
About to have 7 minutes of Jaron just jizzing over Edgar Wright, everybody.
Yeah. No. Yeah, I'm gonna let this is good. I'm gonna let Jason kind of round this out because it'll probably be a little more balanced. Holy shit! I absolutely love this movie. There are points in this movie where the ending is revealed to you, and I love that about good writing. Things that were said all the way up until the end of the movie absolutely point to how this is going to end. Things that happened, the old lady talking about having to turn up the vents in the summer because it gets stinky. There's a reason for that. She just a random ass thing she says, passes by, no one thinks the wiser of it. When Ellie goes
Don't
to
give
look
too many
for
examples.
right. When Ellie goes to look for past deaths in the in the area, there's a trend that keeps coming up that is not what she's looking for, but then at the end makes a whole fucking lot of sense. And I think you're sitting there going, oh, that's what was happening on those fucking microfiches. I agree with Jason. I think so. Okay, Edgar Wright. He kind of blew his load a lot on the elements that were horror. Like there were just periods that we were watching just like something shocking or scary, like just staring at it for a couple seconds. Like there wasn't a lot of buildup. It's almost like he hasn't quite got the timing down on building the suspense and then kind of letting it go. He just jumps right into it and says, "Hey, here it is." And then there may be some running or scrambling or something. And then he's like, "Oh, here it is again. Yeah, I'm just going to stare you right in the face with it." There's no build that we see from other directors that are better at this genre, I guess, if it were. One of the things I fucking loved, and one of the things that Edgar Wright, I think it's an eye that to detail that only Edgar Wright would deliver. When she's experiencing this woman in the past life, you always catch her in the reflections, but it's just a little off-putting because she's never matching where the head would be in a mirror. She's always turned around looking as if she's looking through the mirror at the person. So even though the girl from the 60s is reflected in the mirror exactly as Ellie is body-wise, she's looking at the back of that girl's head, which is just an off-putting situation from the rip. Anytime you ever think of a mirror reflection looking at you and watching you, it's just unnatural. It's weird. It's
Don't
freaky.
fuck with mirrors.
Don't, yeah. From Candyman, you're like, don't fuck with mirrors.
Don't say his name. Don't say his name.
Go back to our Candyman episode. When he's got the thoughts on mirrors. I will say I was worried for the girl from Queen's Gambit. I was like, was Queen's Gambit a perfect storm for her? Is she actually a good actress? Is she capable of being a lead lady? Or was the mixture of the character being kind of a blank slate and, with like one episode where she's drinking and smoking a little bit and kind of acting out, but really still kind of reserved? Was that just a wheelhouse for her? And was it enough of a bland character that she got a lot of kudos for delivering a very, very even delivery? In this, we see her much more human, much more animated, much more out there. And I have to say, if this is any indication of where she's going to have a long and illustrious career in Hollywood. I think she is phenomenal. So if there was any doubt in your mind, this movie will put those doubts to rest, at least in my humble opinion. Jason?
Which one? Me?
Oh. Yep.
Yeah. I'm gonna mirror a lot of sentiments about Edgar Wright that you guys have already said. He's a phenomenal director. He does what he does great. If you want to just judge this on a pure horror movie, it's pretty terrible. It's not scary at all. It's not scary in the slightest if you think this as a horror movie. But if you're just thinking this as just a regular movie, a thriller, then you will definitely have some fun with this. The one thing that I truly liked about this is the I guess would be Edgar Wright's critique of nostalgia here. This young lady is so enamored with the 60s. She thinks it's perfect. She keeps telling everybody, oh, if I could be anywhere, I would live in the 1960s in London. And for me, as a person of color, when people say stuff like that to me, I'm just like, sure, all right, you can have that. Because there was never a point in time past, hopefully in the future might be, but past, present, that was great. And if you think that, you are looking at things from a certain amount of privilege. And I love that in this movie, she is definitely dissuaded of that idea. There are definitely some things that she can enjoy about that time period, but as anything, it was a horrible time for people, just as someone would say this is a horrible time for people or whatever. So I really love that theme, that nostalgia, that rose-colored, looking back, it's like, oh, everything was so great and wonderful back then. And he's like, nah, you can't think like that. You got to move forward. You got to progress. Um, as into for the, I do think there should have been a little bit more character development, or a little bit more of Terrence Stamp's character, of a little bit more obvious pointing of who this character is, or at least more hints to who this character is. But the fact that they cast Terrence Stamp was a phenomenal casting, because you're just like, oh yeah, that's the bad guy, because it's Terrence Stamp.
I mean, you gotta kneel to Zod. So yeah.
You're like, that's the bad guy. It's Terrence Stamp. He's the bad guy. It's Terrence Stamp. We don't need character development because he's the bad guy.
Right. He shows up. He's like got bad guy vibes off the rip.
Yeah. So like, I think that's a really great casting. But there should be a little bit more to his character than just relying on the fact that he's Terrence Stamp. But other than that, yeah, this movie's great. I was intrigued the whole entire time. I was at the edge of my seat. The clues were there. You can say whether or not he sticks the landing or not. That's entirely subjective in my opinion.
Yeah.
But there is definitely enough there to point you in the direction of how this was kind of going to end. So yeah, good movie. Good movie.
All right. So let's give our ratings, and then we'll jump into some spoiler notes on here. I guess I'll jump off. I'm gonna give it a 3.8, which I think is lower, but I think again, once we get to the spoiler portion, my nitpicks will get more picked. So I'm giving it a 3.8. Jaron, what do you think?
I'm gonna give this a solid 4. I highly recommend you go see it in the theaters if you can. If not, this will be a great purchase later on Blu-ray or digital or however you go about it.
All right, Jason.
4 as well. It's a good movie. It's plain and simple. Good movie.
All right. So we are going to jump into some brief spoiler talk. Please be warned. Spoilers, we're letting you know. Please. Okay, yeah, sorry, I didn't get the counter. You're right, Jason. In 5.
I throw a spoiler alert stamp
4,
on the screen that covers everything.
3,
happens, so we're good.
2, 1. We are jumping right into spoilers, ladies and gentlemen. My biggest spoiler on here is just the thing that confused me the most is like, so was the older lady the ghost of?
Yeah, that didn't make no damn sense.
Because she did admit that she got killed, but she
didn't get killed though.
But then how was Ellie seeing the death scene? So was she implanting memories in her mind?
Yeah, there is weirdness there. You saw Ellie see that death scene when the boy was there, but then later they re-showed her telling the death scene, and she was stabbing him up and getting blood.
Yeah.
Well, but no, remember she made a comment as an older lady that she had experienced that death 100 times over until finally the 100th time she decided she wasn't going to die this time. Like she took that out of her mouth.
Well, I think that was more of a
just reliving
psychological death of having sex with these men over and over again. She was dying each time, but it's not like physically dying.
Well,
right. And then finally she finally decided to kill her abuser, which was Jack.
So the 99.
But either way, it didn't make sense that she was seeing her.
He was like, "Oh, the guy that's going to stab me with a knife. Now I'm going to defend myself, and then go back and kill all these other people." Or did she have sex with them and then kill them? That's what I'm saying.
She had sex with them and then killed them.
And so nobody. And again,
she continued after she killed Jack. She continued to have sex with men and kill them.
Gotcha. So then Jack was the first death, but then the guys that she was killing were the guys
first actual death.
But the guys that she was killing were the guys that we saw through the movie too, as well.
Right. So either they were return customers, or I always thought she killed Jack last.
That's what I thought too.
Like these deaths happened over the course of maybe like a summer, where she was looking through all those microfiches.
That's a lot of motherfuckers to kill in the summer, and
then nobody noticed that they all went home with the one and never found out was found again.
60s, no social media, no cell phones.
Oh, come on. You still know but 50 motherfuckers go missing.
Especially if you're just a pimp.
In one area, like dudes go missing in one area, and you're just like, I don't fucking know what happened.
They all left with the same chick.
All right, so think of it. You're in the 60s, you're a pimp, you sell this woman, you get paid, and then you don't see that guy around the club for a while. what does that mean to you? That's nothing. You see 1,000
Yeah, but
people in that.
every single motherfucker that she has sex with
And
disappears.
if it was 100 of them, I think you
Yeah.
would start as a pimp noticing that 99 of your customers who have probably been loyal,
Especially
they
if
were
you-
only buying her from him. They
If
all
you're
just-
hanging out in a club, you're gonna know people. If you're going there, for sex and stuff, you're gonna know people. You're gonna make, friends with people and shit, and be like, dude, Bill
I
had
thought-
sex with, Sandy. I haven't seen him. And then,
Well,
what,
even
Todd?
if-
He did
I
it too.
scrap that. Like,
Yeah.
we got to still stay to the point of like, how was she confusing Ellie about who died? The only thing I got reference to that maybe it was something with the chick that she could do this is that she made a comment about how girls leave out of that room immediately, like always leave very quickly without notice. Was my
Right.
only thought to be like, maybe
The room's
being in
haunted.
that room, something happens to the people who live in that room. That's why the lady would never really go in that room, because you've noticed throughout the whole thing until the end, she never really went inside of that room, like for a very prolonged amount of time. That's the only thing I can really spitball and say is it was something more with the room mixed with Ellie's powers that have made that kind of. But then why were these other chicks leaving? Was it just a smell, or like again, this is why I'm like I don't know what the point of the revelation was supposed to be.
The
Or
fact
that the ghosts are grabbing her and she's trying to call the police and get this crazy lady locked up. And they're like,
She's like, bitch, I'm trying to do it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to help.
the fact that all three of us came to this point with a different idea of exactly what was going on with that killing point does mean that they could have done a better job in the storytelling for sure. It
See,
really
this,
wasn't
for me,
laid
it's
out
like,
well.
all right, they established that she can see ghosts at the very beginning of the movie because she sees her mother.
Mom.
So you assume that the fact that she is living this person's life, that person is dead. And so like you assume that, okay, that means Sandy must have died because she can see ghosts and she is seeing Sandy's life.
Mhm.
But no, Sandy is just down fucking stairs,
Right.
waiting to plot.
Like,
So it's like,
whoa,
as
whoa.
cool as that sort of thing was, it's like, okay, this is very confusing. Is she seeing? Because it would be one thing if she was seeing Sandy's life with always Jack being there, right? Then you would say, okay, she wasn't seeing Sandy; she was seeing Jack's perspective, or she was seeing, maybe she was seeing through Jack's eyes. But the fact that she was only seeing what Sandy was doing kind of confuses the whole entire point that Sandy is the one who is still alive and Jack is the one that is dead. And it's and especially at that end, and that's the only scary part of the movie to me was when poor John was in the room with her and she's screaming and shit. And I'm like, well, black guy's getting caught up.
Oh
in
yeah,
white
it's over. For him.
It's
over.
yeah. Go to jail for the rest
I think
of
we're
his
both
life.
nodding in the
He didn't do
theater like
nothing at all.
this is
He's about to go down. He didn't even
Well,
touch
yeah,
it.
and I think that's the confusing point is like trying to figure out those pieces. So my theory, and I guess we can go around and give our own theories of what we think was going on. My theory is that the lady was always dead because we never see her leave the house. We never see her do anything around town. That she was dead. But for somehow in that house, she's able to manifest herself. That's why other people are able to see her in that house and in that role. Like she was able to manifest it, and that's what was going on. And mixed with Ellie's power in that room, something's wrong with that room, is haunted, whatever. It was able to make all these things come to fruition and happen. That's the best guess I have is that, yeah. And then like as a ghost, she was killing these jokers off one by one and then burying them. That's something I could think of. Because again, she would have to be some kind of ghost for Ellie to experience her life. So that's something I could think of is she was just a ghost that was able to manifest herself because she died out of like trauma, pain, and revenge. That's my best guess. And there's nothing in the movie that really confirms that. It's just my guess from horror movie stuff that I've watched my whole life.
Would you say it's your headcanon?
Oh, yes.
Oh, I see what you did there. I see what you did.
My thoughts on it were that we established that Ellie's a median because she sees her mom still from across. So I would think that all these dead men have focused their kind of like spectral or ethereal energy on the thing that murdered them, the memory of the girl that murdered them. And that's why Ellie is being put, like, seeing it through there. She's seeing the girl through the eyes that are basically reconstructed by all these men's perception of her that she's killed. So that's what she's experiencing. And maybe it's amplified because she's close to this old woman who happens to be the source of it. But again, But that would be my best guess in that scenario.
That's a good. I like that one better than mine. Like I think I could roll with that. Your thoughts, Jason? What is your theory on it?
Aliens.
Yeah, but this one could open the door. This one could open the door. Though.
Actually, I think probably what it probably is that she is experiencing the death of Sandy, the girl, and that's how she's viewing things. Because Sandy, the girl, is dead, but Alexandra, the woman, is still alive, and therefore she's experiencing Sandy's death. Right. And then that's why she's seeing when Sandy was killed was when she in fact killed Jack, was when Sandy was killed. And Alexander, who was the serial killer, was born. And that is what she's seeing. That's
so you're thinking more of the death of innocence, less the death of life. I got you. I think
an actual real, she's being really dead.
I'm going to now jump from Jaren on over to Jason, and I think that's the best explanation, because that would make the most sense. That
makes sense.
They will continue this pimping without the men being counted, because she no longer had a pimp. She just would go back to these nightclubs and get these guys back home and finish. That would make more sense now. Why it wouldn't be Trace now, because nobody would be paying attention at this point. She's just a regular chick going around. There's no more. The pimp's not around. She allures the guys back home, takes them out. Like,
or again, if they're repeat customers at that point, they already know she's an established, at least in their minds. Oh,
and she's probably going back and murdering the people who have abused her previously.
Right.
I'm here for that. I like that theory better. Yes, and Terrence Stamp's character going out like that. I got the hint as soon as he said Sandy probably deserved everything she got, and something about her in hell. I was like, oh, that's the dude that was like, she's too good for this. And then
but the thing was, like, there was only one scene with that guy. I feel like there should be more scenes with him in it, like being just lurking around or something. Like, great, maybe more of she could have come across him more, and him being just a creepy, maybe just him just being creepy, and you realizing, oh, he's a fucking narc. That's why he's always around.
Or the fact that like nobody mentions that early on. They make him like a creepo, and nobody was like,
oh, no, that dude's a cop. I mean, all cops bad, but still.
I'm actually curious if there is more scenes with him establishing that connection as the younger cop, and Edgar Wright was like, let's just pull it back to one. I just want a breadcrumb. I want a single breadcrumb and see if anybody picks up on it.
Right.
And we'll wrap it up at the end.
One breadcrumb, be like, oh, let's weigh out the bases right here.
We'll beat him over the head with it at the end, but I'm wondering if
anyone will pick up 2 scenes. One is not enough. 2 is too much.
I can't wait till like the real nerdy heads break down this movie and put in all the imagery that probably led to us should have knowing what happened. Like in all Edgar Wright's movies is all the imagery that tells you like how this is going to happen.
Yeah, and then this is gonna have to fit in the Cornetto trilogy as well. It's gonna. No, this is actually Baby Driver, and it's this and Cornetto trilogy, all the same universe.
Right.
They all make a reference to this Sandy girl, and we never realized it. It's not just a throwaway line. We're like, what the fuck?
Right.
Actually, this is after the World's End. They're all actually robots. She's just downloading the implant. This is a different 1960s. After they all become robots.
Absolutely. Yes, hopefully everybody enjoyed our last conversation on last night in Soho. Please remember to comment below. Let us know what you thought about it, if you enjoyed this or not, and if you hated it and you thought it sucked. Please let us know that as well, and tell us why you thought it sucked. But I do agree with you.
I don't think you're wrong.
Yeah, I don't think it's an all-out horror movie as in jump scares. I do think it is a horror movie in a sense of thriller. So